We'll take you right up to Yankees pregame here on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. So it's Chris Honorado and Brian Mariano with you until about 12:25 when John Sterling takes over from the Bronx. And Coley Harvey is this year's ESPN Yankee reporter, and it's a big assignment for him. I know he's fired up about it. And he had a great opening day to witness with Giancarlo Stanton. And then yesterday he got the flip side of that with the former Marlins slugger and reigning National League MVP with 5 strikeouts and boos raining down. Shame on you, Yankees fans. Boos raining down on Giancarlo Stanton in his home debut in pinstripes. Coley Harvey, good enough to join us here this morning on Big Board Sports ahead of today's 1 o'clock game against the Rays. Coley, good morning. Chris Honorado and Brian Mariano with you here. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Good morning to you guys as well.
I know you're pumped up about this assignment, and how could you not be? I mean, all of the star power that comes along with this Yankees roster, and a new manager in Aaron Boone, and another year of Aaron Judge. What have you observed about the dynamic within this clubhouse is what I'd love to get from you. Take us behind the scenes, if you could, something we don't get as average viewers watching games on TV. What is it about the mix of players, Coley, that you think will just kind of work?
This is a team that, obviously the mix worked last year, and there were a few changes, additions and subtractions in the offseason. But even Aaron Boone, just literally 10 minutes ago, was just talking about Giancarlo Stanton and the way that he's acclimated to this clubhouse, how he feels like he belongs, primarily because he thinks that this is a clubhouse full of guys who want to win and want to win right now. And that seemed evident at least last year when this team in so many ways kind of overachieved, I guess you could say, by getting to the ALCS and getting, just one game away from the World Series when a lot of people didn't think that would be a playoff year, that it was still kind of a rebuilding year. One thing I will say that I've noticed is there is certainly a camaraderie and a closeness of this team. In Toronto just the other day, we're standing in the clubhouse before the game. It's, probably about an hour and a half before the game, and all of a sudden there's this loud cheering and screaming coming from a far room, and it was players playing a video game, just kind of having a lot of fun, being really loose, being really relaxed. And, and I'm not exactly sure who they were celebrating, who did well with the video game, but it sounded like they were playing Fortnite. And we're certainly encouraging each other on that way. And then, of course, they go out and they play a ball game an hour and a half later. That's just how loose this team is as they're getting going into this season.
Who isn't playing Fortnite? I mean, aside from me, who isn't playing Fortnite these days? It's unbelievable. Every single locker room, clubhouse, you hear about players playing Fortnite. Somebody explain this to me.
I'm still learning the rules myself. I actually heard Aaron Judge explaining it to someone just a few minutes ago this morning. I haven't gotten on board yet. I've just been a little too busy, but I do want to just try it out, check it out to see myself too. It is it's the phenomenon in all of pro sports right now.
Coley, we'll definitely check in to see who the best Fortnite player throughout the season on the Yankees roster is. But is there any concern from Aaron Boone at all about how the struggles from this bullpen to start the year? There was something that they wanted to lean on throughout the year and really has struggled in their first 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, he continues to say, even today, he continues to say that he's not overly concerned. He feels like it's a situation where these guys have been put into some tough spots, and that that he feels like at the end of the year they're going to end up balanced. It's all going to balance out. They're going to end up being an area that he's proud of. And of course, and forgive the noise behind me, I'm in the stadium right now. But it's one of those things where he's really looking forward to this bullpen kind of solidifying things as he moves into the rest of the year. You talk about the big game Sunday against the Blue Jays, where you could argue maybe he didn't make the right decision in walking Josh Donaldson to pitch to Justin Smoke. You can make the argument that was a problem. But the big problem also is the fact that he only got 4 innings out of his starter, Sonny Gray. If he can get his starters to go a little bit deeper, he can kind of free up some of the plans that they have moving forward with the bullpen. And I think that was certainly an issue in that game. Gray just got his pitch count very high. And, you got to the bullpen a little bit sooner than expected, ended up having to have Robertson pitch maybe a little bit longer than expected. And, sometimes things happen. And to Robertson's credit, on that Smoke at bat, actually made really good pitches, and he gets 3-2. He's got to come at the hitter. And, as he said, hey, I just gave him a good pitch, and he put a good swing on it and hit the ball a long way. So it's one of those things where the Yankees are still optimistic that the bullpen is going to be okay. It came into the season being a strength, of course, for this team. And they do think, Aaron Boone does think that when it's all said and done, this bullpen still will be looked at that way.
Coley, Harvey with us here on Big Board Sports and 104.5 The Team ESPN Radio. A 1:10 first pitch in the Bronx. We'll have it for you as we do every Yankee game throughout the season right here, and we'll take you up to the pregame at 12:25 with John Sterling and Susan Waldman. Check out Coley on Twitter, at Coley, that's Coley. Harvey, and another shout-out to the ATL here this morning, Brian. But Coley, I'm a Braves fan. Yesterday,
man,
we had Taylor Bisciotti of the NFL Network, who's also from Atlanta, so just kind of by coincidence here, another shout out to Atlanta.
Wait, is this coincidence? But you're getting the guess.
I only book guests from Atlanta.
I
That's
see.
Especially after the Braves win a game, which may be few and far between this year. You know what I mean?
Hey, and check this out. Today is 404 Day. 404 being the area code of Atlanta. So hey, we're this is a good thing for
surrounded.
Coley,
I want to take you back to yesterday, since you were there. You got to experience the 0 for 5 strikeout day of Giancarlo Stanton, and then the boos. And look, I mean, I'm half kidding, but I am. There is a serious tone to it. Like, how are you going to boo the guy in his home debut? I get it. 0 for 5 strikeouts is legendarily bad stuff. But were you a little surprised? And how did Stanton take it afterwards?
Yeah, I was surprised, and in part surprised because these are fans who sat in just that awful weather all game. This wasn't the beginning of the game. This was the end, where there was still a good number of people standing in the concourses and some who still braved the elements sitting in the seats. And I was surprised to hear it, just because, again, this is a guy that you're excited to see if you're a Yankees fan. He had the 2-homer game on opening day. He is the reigning home run champion in Major League Baseball, and you're gonna have days like that, so to speak. In fact, that's even what Giancarlo said after the game. Hey, it was a bad day. I was awful, and credit to him, kudos to him for owning up to what happened. I remember just before the season started, one of the last spring training games, Buster Olney was interviewing me during a game that was on our air about Stanton, and he asked me, "Hey, do you think he'll be able to handle the New York media when he goes, say, 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts?" It's kind of a hypothetical. And I said, hey, it remains to be seen. It's one of those things I'd like to believe so, but I'd have to see it before I really believed it. And to Giancarlo's credit, he stood there, answered every question, and even gave shout-outs to Didi Gregorius. That was the big story of the game, was how in 3 of those at-bats in particular, Stanton strikes out with less than 2 outs, and Didi comes up and delivers and drives in runs just behind him. So Giancarlo was very quick to credit that and said, hey, he did what a cleanup hitter is supposed to do. Speaking of Gregorius, he cleaned up the garbage that's in front of him, and that was kind of a self-deprecating a nod at himself, the fact that he didn't do so well yesterday.
Coley, you mentioned the big day for Didi Gregorius, and then coming out today, they've released the lineup for this afternoon's game, and Didi goes from cleanup to number 5. And I had said to Chris earlier in the show that I completely disagree with this. If someone is hot and is hitting well in the spot that you have him, why are you moving him and putting Sanchez at cleanup? Your thoughts a little bit on how Aaron Boone's kind of shifting this lineup?
I'm actually on that same boat with you. I think, hey, if this guy has had success in that spot, and he's done it for the last now 4 games. The opener, he went 0 for 3, batting 6th. And, ever since then, he's been hitting cleanup and has just been blazing the ball. His first single of the season was just in yesterday's game in the 8th inning. Other than that, everything else he's hit has either been a double, a triple, or a home run. And, and that's to me, that's just Didi saying to himself, hey, I'm the cleanup guy. I got to hit like a power hitter. I've got to drive in these runs with runners on base. And I think you keep the guy there in that regard. What it looks like to me is that Boone's trying to get Gary Sanchez going. He's had a kind of a tough go out of the gate here the last couple of games. He's hit the ball pretty hard at times. It's just he's hitting it right at people. And so I think Boone is trying to kind of maybe free up Sanchez and also tinker with his lineup a little bit. Still early in the year, he does want to see exactly what makes sense 1 through 9 the entire way up and down. But as far as Didi, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of with you. Keep keep the guy going in the same spot. He's got a good mojo. He's got a good thing going right now. It is strange to move him, but he is only moving down one spot, and maybe this will get Sanchez going.
Coley, great stuff, man. Really appreciate the time, especially on a game day with a 1 o'clock start on TV, online, and everywhere, covering the Yankees for ESPN. Check him out all season long on Twitter, again, at Coley Harvey. Thanks so much for the time, man. We'll catch up soon.
Hey, no problem. Thank you guys so much for having me.